everybody. Good morning, everybody. Is that working okay? Fantastic to be here. My name's Harriet Lamb. I'm the CEO of the Green Party, and I'm your host this morning. And what an exciting morning it is. As we can see by the standing room only in this room, it's been a high-tempo contest, as people have stood for 16 key governance roles in the party, including, of course, the biggies, the leader and the deputy leader. And we've had packed hustings up and down the country, as well, of course, as heated debates on social media and indeed in the press, all showcasing actually just how much top talent the Green Party has to offer. And so this morning, yeah, go on, give it a round of applause. With lots of clapping. I want to let everyone know what we're going to do is I'm going to say a few words setting the scene, then we're going to make the announcements, we hear of the different positions, we will hear from the winning candidates, and then there will be time for the press to ask your Q&A before we end, and then go off if people want to have, and we know many people do, to have one-on-one interviews. So that's the plan for the next hour.
Harriet, can we lift your mic a little bit, please?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Something else.
Can people at the back hear me? Is that all right? But let's get this right. No, sorry. Thank you very much for that. Okay, how's that doing? Is that better? Is that any better? I know, it's the problem with being small. Carla's nodding at me. It's the problem we have. But anyway, hopefully you can all hear. Because I really want to thank all of the candidates who have put in their weekends, their evenings, their days, their hearts and their souls into all these contested roles. And I also want to thank Adrian Ramsey and Carla Denyer and Zach Clancy. Our amazing leadership over the past years. Indeed, until right now. And they have together a formidable track record. It's thanks to their leadership, together with our membership right across the country, that the Green Party is on the move. We are running now so that we can win, and win big, in the electoral races. And today, they hand on the baton in that race. And our new leaders pick up pole position at a pivotal moment for the Green Party, but a pivotal moment also for the whole country. As we watch the dusty old two-party system crumble away and we create openings as the insurgents. It's already become a bit of a cliche to say it in quite a short space of time, but we are really moving into a multi-party system, with the Greens poised to help create the next government. And like all the best cliches, it has the distinctive advantage of also being true. For we're like a 50-year-old startup. we have deep roots in communities up and down the country, where we've supported initiatives for people struggling with their bills, people wanting to open food banks to protect rivers, trees and parks. And that's why people have gone on voting for Green councillors in by-election after by-election. Whether we're, yay, go on! People know and respect the Greens for being hard-working, professional and delivering change. And that's now why we've now got 863 councillors right across the I wish I could whistle like that. But we do, and those are councillors in leafy suburbs, down windy country lanes, and in inner city estates, right across the country now. Whether you're looking, for example, at Grangetown in Cardiff, where we just won a by-election, through to South Jesmond in Newcastle, where we just won a by-election. Whether it's in Bristol or Lancaster or Mid Suffolk, and in 40 administrations where the Green Party is there working for millions of people and making direct change for their lives. And meanwhile, in our Houses of Parliament, we are super proud to have our 4 fantastic MPs and our you clapped too soon, you're going to have to clap again now. 4 fantastic MPs and 2 peers! Yay! Day in, day out, okay, taking a minor break today, championing the voices of those whose voices don't get heard enough. The millions of people struggling with their rents, calling for rent control. The millions of people calling for an utter opposition to the genocide in Gaza. And then speaking up against the misuse of terrorism laws to silence protest. And they're putting an unwavering, consistent call for taxes on the uber wealthy. And we are confident that those voices in the Houses of Parliament will soon be amplified by our first win in the next national general election at the Senedd in Wales, where our colleague Anthony Slaughter, who I can't see, and the Greens are on the move, so I can tell you today we're going straight up to Hackney, where there's a mayoral contest coming up soon, and at the weekend we're going straight down to Cardiff in order to back Anthony's effort in that seat. And alongside that deep professional expertise that the Greens bring wherever they can, we also have the energy of a start-up, the wild ambition, the verve, the determination that we can move fast to deliver the kind of change that we know the country is crying out for, and that we can take on the cold, old, monolithic blocks of power and inequality that have had a stranglehold on our country for far too long, and that have now risen up to Frankenstein style, dressed up as reform, as if they were new, but actually same old, backed by the billionaires, by the multinational companies, and by Trump. We are the antidote to reform. Green Party are the antidote to reform, and we're a home for all those people across the country holding their heads in their hands as the Labour government lets them down again and again and again, whether it is filching from the aid budget or from people with disabilities and not bringing in taxes on the super wealthy that we need. And that is why, in reaction, a new green wave is sweeping the country as people turn to us, looking to us for that hope and change that they so desperately need, eager to sign up to us, which is why I'm absolutely delighted to announce this morning that our membership levels at the Green Party are at their highest 1,500 members. That's where we are at the highest level, and I can tell you it's continuing to rise, and that is just the start. Because I am determined even, together with our new leadership, that we can realise all our most deeply held ambitions and dreams. That we can, together with our new leadership, really at this critical time in British politics, we can grow exponentially our impact and our influence and be that collective voice for climate and social justice. And so, now, with our nails bitten down to the quick, we have the big reveal. So, I want to hand over now to our tireless electoral returning officer, Stuart Christie, and I want to ask you to please applaud all the staff who also worked day and night to pull off this
So thank you, Harriet. As the returning officer for the Green Party of England and Wales, I would like to take a small moment to thank our members for taking the time to vote in an unusually long list of internal elections this year. With nearly 4 months of campaigning and 50 candidates to choose from, countless interviews across the media and so many hustings across the country, it has been a massive task for members and candidates alike. I'm now happy to confirm the total paid-up electorate in all contests was 64,581, with over 140,000 votes cast across all elections. Starting with the election for the leader of the Green Party of England and Wales, the number of votes cast were as follows. Ron reopened nominations, 149. Ellie Chowns and Adrian Ramsey, 3,705. And Zach Belansky, 20,411. Zach Belansky is the new leader of the Green Party of England and Wales.
Thank you very much. Thank you to every single person who voted for me. I promise to work every single day to deliver environmental, social, racial and economic justice. And to those of you who didn't vote for me, this is a democracy. We don't have to agree on everything. We just have to have common cause. And I give the same commitment to you. I will work every single day to grow this party. So thank you very much. One of my favourite moments on this campaign was when a woman got in touch. She said she'd just joined a political party for the first time in her life. She finally felt like there was hope in this country, that we could turn the country around. Now that wasn't that unique, but what was special about this was that her mum had been one of the first ever members of the Ecology Party. She'd left, she'd kind of just drifted away. She felt like things weren't moving fast enough. And I'm delighted to welcome both Dr. Tess Mackling to the party and welcome back her mum, Jackie, as well as those thousands of new members. Welcome to the Green Party. I want to thank everyone who worked on my campaign team, and it's always awkward because I want to give every name, but we'd be here all day. But I do want to give a special thank you to my incredible campaign manager, Narani. Narani's organisational skill is phenomenal. She can work a team like no one else I know, and more than anything, she's kind and she's compassionate. I can't believe that you were silly enough to do this twice, but thank you so much for everything, Narani. I also want to say a huge thank you to Aileen. Aileen, we've known each other for years, and you give me daily wisdom, again, compassion, thoughts and opinions, even when I don't want them. And you're just phenomenal to be around. So thank you very much to Aileen and the entire campaign. And finally, from my team, I guess, I want to thank the person who's always got my back. And that's my partner, Richie. Oh, here we go. Fall in love with you more every single day. Richie, thank you for your kindness, your strength. I'm going to stop talking about you. And you tell me every day how proud you are of me, but I just want everyone in here to know that Richie works in palliative care, and I couldn't be prouder of everything that you and your colleagues do to give kindness and dignity to people in their final chapters. So big up to my boyfriend Richie and to all of St. Joseph's Hospice. There were lots of articles written about this leadership race. In fact, the Green Party has been searched more in the last 2 months than it has in the last 20 years. Some of those articles have been amazing, some less so. But one of the ones I really loved was by a man called Adam Ramsey, who's actually no relation to Adrian Ramsey, that's just odd quirk. But it was about Adrian, and I think it was really pertinent. He said one of the reasons I could run right now, and one of the reasons I could run a radical campaign that seemed credible, was because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. People like Adrian and people who have been around the party for a long time, who have been building and growing this party. As deputy leader, as co-leader, now as the MP for Waveney Valley, I want to give a huge thank you and acknowledgement to Adrian Ramsey. And I've said this multiple times during the campaign, so it won't be a surprise. But one of the times I'm proudest to be a Green Party member is when I see Ellie Chowns stand up in Parliament over a whole range of issues, but particularly the way she's held the Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister to account over the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Thank you for everything you do. And since I'm thanking my MPs, Carla Denyer, everything you've done in this leadership team, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you on a daily basis and to see you flying now as the MP for Bristol Central. Huge shout out to Carla. I always want to make the joke that my former Assembly member got demoted to the House of Commons, but it's not being funny. But again, it's been amazing to see Sian Berry flying as the MP for Brighton Pavilion. So it's time to get our MPs some more company and get some more elected MPs in the House of Commons. And this is the Green Party's time. People in this country are exhausted. They are tired. They are sick of working long hours and never feeling secure. They see water companies pumping sewage into our waters and charging us extra for the privilege. And they see how broken the old two-party system is. And we know this political space has been ripe for charlatans like Nigel Farage and Reform. Millionaires who are pretending to serve working class communities, but are actually backed by the same billionaires who are destroying our democracies, our communities, and our planet. So it is an absolute moral responsibility in this moment for the Green Party to step up with the bold politics that I know that we have, to say to people that we can and we will lower your bills. We will nationalise the water companies. We will hold this Labour government to account. Because when we look at Keir Starmer and what this government have been doing, whether it's the two-child benefit cap, the disability cuts, the genocide in Gaza, my message to Labour is very clear. We are not here to be disappointed by you. We are not here to be concerned by you. We're here to replace you. And we're set up for this moment. We just got nearly 2 million votes. We've got over 800 councillors, 3 London Assembly members, 4 MPs, 2 peers, nearly 2 million votes, and 39 second place finishes. Our first mission, let's turn those second place finishes into our brand new MPs. And the work starts right now. This weekend, I will be in Cardiff with Anthony Slaughter and the Green team in Wales. They are a perfect example of where Labour's failed and broken promises has caused absolute devastation and destruction. And Reform are trying to swoop in. We are ready to take that fight to Reform. And in 2026, we will see Greens elected to the Senate. And this evening, you heard me right, this evening, I'm going to be out on the doorsteps with my London Assembly colleague, Zoe Garbutt, over there. Zoe is phenomenal to work with every day, and I know the work she does as an Assembly member and as a councillor. I'm particularly excited to introduce you to the man sat next to Zoe. This is Dylan Law. Dylan is 19, and he grew up using Labour's public services. He knows how broken and how much they are failing his family and his community. When young people say to Dylan, you're spending kind of every evening having these political meetings, what are you doing? Dylan's answer, as I understand it, is, well, what are you doing about our future? I want to see Delta, yes, sorry. Not only are we going to get Dylan Law, and remember that name, Dylan elected into Hackney as a councillor, he will also be deputy mayor, because Zoe is going to be mayor of Hackney and our first ever directly elected mayor. And that's this evening. But what about straight after this? I am straight to UVW, that's United Voices of the World. This is a migrants' union. And let's be clear, this is a total show of intent of what this party is. We listen to the poorest communities, whether they're migrant communities, disabled communities, the trans community, working class communities. Whoever needs us to have their back, we will be there. We will be there to amplify their voices, to listen to the most marginalised and minority communities, to speak with them, not for them, and challenge truth to power, to take on power and wealth in this country. And we absolutely recognise that migrants are very much the backbone of this country. Our country has problematic history that we also need to come to terms with, but also we have a beautiful history, a beautiful present, and a beautiful future of what we are when communities come together. So let's have a very clear Green Party message. Our communities will always stand together. Now, if you're watching this and you're feeling excited, but there's something else that's saying, it just all feels so hard right now, I get you, and I hear you, and I know for so many people it is so difficult. But what I would say is, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling in despair, if you're feeling politically homeless, there is a political home for you. And I promise you, nothing will make you feel more inspired, more ready to get out there, and more like we can turn our country around than joining the Green Party. So join the Green Party today. by the way, it doesn't have to stop at joining the Green Party. We have just launched our Path to Parliament programme. These are our future new Green MPs. Now, I know there are people in the party who have been working away for decades, and I cannot wait to be with you and see you in Parliament celebrating your work. And I'm also equally excited by people who have not even joined the party yet, can be our future MPs. People who are already running food banks, protecting libraries, green spaces, doing the work, but they haven't yet connected with a political party. If you want bold politics, if you want to take truth to power, we want you on our team. It's time to apply to Path to Parliament. Applications are open, and I can't wait to see you on the training. So finally, I want to recognise this moment. This is a huge moment for our party. But it's not just for our party. This is about a green left. This is about building and growing in this moment so the country can have the change it needs. So we can win more MPs, more assembly members, more councillors. And remember, the point of all of this is to be in our communities, to build our communities, to create even more resilient communities, to create the country that we want. So just like Dr. Tess and her mum Jackie that have joined the party, that is new energy and older wisdom joining. That is the future of the Green Party. So let's get out there, because that is how we're going to change our towns, it's how we're going to change our cities, it's how we're going to change our country. So thank you for electing me, and let's get to work.
Congratulations from all of us, Zach. I can tell you there are many people who sadly we couldn't squeeze into this very packed room today, but who are watching at home. And just to let them know that the whole room has twice exploded into standing up for you, Zach, and your exciting leadership. But of course, we're an extremely democratic party, and it will be a team that helps lead us into the next stage. And that's why we're now also so excited to announce the deputy leadership. So, Stuart, back to you.
Thank you, Harriet. So, rather than bore you with the Green Party proportional system and go through 11 rounds and telling you the numbers, I am going to cut to the chase and tell you the result of the deputy leadership election. So, I'd like to congratulate Malton Ali and Rachel Millward.
Did I just do this?
Oh, yes, a tall one.
Sorry about that. Paula's used to doing it the other way. What an incredible honour. And to be in this room just packed with so many people who have inspired me so deeply over these years. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who voted and who supported and encouraged me through this campaign. Thank you to my incredible and sort of surprising volunteer team who kind of gathered around me with such skills in this party, guys. Watch out. Really wonderful. Thank you so much to my partner and my family at home for tolerating this and loving me. I am just so excited to get going, to help this party grow and to grow well. I'm excited to bring more training to the membership, to help support local parties, to help us raise the funds, to get us ready to win and to win big across England and Wales. Because now is the time to unite against division and hate, to defend nature, and to fill our communities with hope. Let's do this. Thank you so much.
See, I have to just make it a bit smaller. I think first of all we're going to thank Harriet and all the staff who worked so tirelessly to get this campaign to where it is. See, this is a huge honour, and as a Muslim we have this concept of amana as a trust, and this is what the people who voted for me have put in me, a trust, and I hope that I can live up to that trust that you've honoured me with. And I need to thank a number of people in my campaign, so I am going to whittle off a few more names than Zach did, but I'm not going to go through everyone. So first of all, my campaign managers, Faiz and Claire, and Tariq, and How You, and Serena, and Atif. There's loads more people who really took an idea and turned it into a reality. And I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. And Selena, my wife, you've put up with me for the last 15 years with all my crazy antics. And I think I owe you an apology because I'm going to have to put you through tomorrow. But getting a little bit more serious, right now politics in this country is at a precipice. There's a huge rise of the far right, minority communities, whether it be Muslims, whether it be immigrants, whether it be LGBT community, whether it be trans community, regardless of which minority you're from, we are being targeted. And our fight is one, and we've got to come together and make sure that we're ready together to challenge reform and the rise of the far right. So we stood on three key messages. Community-rooted action, and this is one thing that the Green Party has. It has people who are really decent, who really genuinely care for their communities. And up and down the country we've got these activists that are embedded in their communities. These are the people who are going to drive this movement forward, and we've got to really, really give them the resources and the support they need to move this movement forward. We need to make Britain a fairer Britain. I'm a councillor in Leeds, in one of the most deprived areas in Leeds, one of the most deprived areas in the country. I get phone calls regularly from people who can't feed their children, who can't heat their homes, who can't pay their bills. This country is just not working. This Labour government, who was supposed to be the change, is just not working. We've got to take the fight to them. We've got to make serious change and give them real hope and real change. And that's it. Hope and unity. Our party is fantastic. We've got to come together and we've got to provide that hope for the country. And I hope to work with Zach and Rachel and the rest of the people in this room to make that change possible. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody, a little tiny glimpse into what an amazing team we're going to have leading the Green Party of England and Wales from now onwards. super exciting, and thank you once again so much. And now we're going to move to one of the last announcements we'd like to make. Our guests today from the press will be delighted to know we're not going to go through all the Green Party roles, but they will all be, of course, on the website, which Stuart has magically done, even while he stands here making his announcement. So Stuart, come and tell us who's the chair. We do want to know who's the chair with our dream team here.
Yeah, not quite yet. 2 minutes' time, yeah, and I'll be there. So I would like to congratulate John Knott, actually. John's been re-elected as chair of our national executive, and all the other positions will be available on the website in 2 minutes' time, so you can see who your colleagues are going to be, John. Yeah? And of course, we'll publish all the detailed results as well a little bit later this afternoon, so please check the website and pore over the data.
Thank you so much. So that's the results, and we're now going to move to a chance for the press to put their questions to our new leader. So I'm looking for the press team who are going to come and, no, Zach's going to come and take questions from the press. Over to you, Zach.
Excellent. I think I've got Helen Catt from the BBC first up. Just before Helen asks the question, if Jenny and Carla run out of the room, they've got to vote, and they're not deeply offended by something I've said. Do we have Helen? There you are, Helen.
From the BBC. So you've won a massive victory here today amongst members, but we have seen in the past that massive enthusiasm amongst activists and members doesn't always translate into the general public voting for you. Why do you think your approach is going to work better than the one that has seen you get record election results?
I think the question's exactly right. We've got to find the enthusiasm that there is in this room and for the Green Party more widely, and then connect that. I think that comes from top down, and I know that might sound odd when I've just but actually I see my role to facilitate that enthusiasm in communities. I know it's already there, as the councillors in this room know it's there, because when you turn up in the communities and you listen and you do that deep listening, you feel the enthusiasm people experience when they can feel the change for the first time. I think it's about how do we harness that and multiply it so more communities can have that. Of course that involves getting more councillors elected, but the step before that is more community organising, to be in as many communities as possible, where people ideally from those communities are the exact people stepping up to be our next generation of councillors. Thank you. I've got Tamara from Sky. There you are.
Thank you, Tamara Cohen from Sky News. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
You set out some big ambitions here. But we saw, and you will have seen, Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party pursue radical left-wing politics and go down to devastating defeat in 2019. What makes you think that radical left politics can have a broad appeal? What have you learnt from that? And what do you think about the party that he's setting up? Would you work together with them? Would you have an alliance?
Sure, thank you. So the first thing I'd say is this idea of radical left politics. If we're talking about what are the policies there, we want to nationalise the water companies, we want to tax multimillionaires and billionaires, we want to make sure that we're tackling the climate crisis and protecting nature. I think these are policies that are popular in the country. And actually, although they're considered radical left, I think that sometimes in the past, people who have advocated for these policies have allowed themselves to take on those labels, as opposed to going, these are policies that the 99% of communities want. These are people who don't... These are the policies that people want, so we're not just surviving, but actually we're thriving. So that people can have jobs in the public sector that are paid properly, that they're given dignity, that they're given sick pay at work. These are the things we're advocating for, and I think the radicalism actually comes from the right, when they think that anything that looks like the status quo right now, or even worse, is in any way sustainable. So I think we need to turn that around. In terms of the new party, I think this really speaks to the political moment. Keir Starmer is failing so badly that not only is the Green Party massively surging to his left, A movement that doesn't even exist yet. We don't even know what their policies are. People are saying anything but that, anything but the old political system. Now, I and the party clearly have a job to do to speak to those people who haven't yet joined the Green Party, to say, if you believe in environmental, social, racial and economic justice, if you want to see climate action, protect nature, workers' rights, lower bills, then join the Green Party, because this is the exact place for you. It's too soon to talk about joining or electoral coalitions. I'm actually going to steal a line from John McDonnell. I'm being fair and crediting him rather than pretending it was my own original thought. He said he's not interested right now in electoral coalitions. He's interested in intellectual coalitions. And I think that's a really sharp phrase, because I know the MPs, in fact anyone in the party, wants to work, and as they do in Parliament, with anyone who wants to challenge a failing Labour government and take on fascism and the far right. And so collaboration, cooperation is in our DNA and as a party. So I'm watching what's happening very closely, but my real focus and the party's focus right now is growing this party that nearly got 2 million votes, that has 39 second place finishes. We're going to see more councillors and more MPs. The Green Party's moment is now. I've got Sophie from the Mirror. There you are.
Sophie Huston from the Mirror, thank you. So you won 4 seats at last year's general election, as you said. Do you have a target of how many seats you'd love to win at future general election?
I mean, how much I'd love to win and how much we're going to win is probably slightly different questions. It's time to be really, really ambitious and to be visionary. We should never ape the politics of Nigel Farage and reform. But what Nigel Farage has demonstrated is bold communications that can cut through. It means where the level of ambition might have been previously is actually throwing down the gauntlet to say, let's raise our game, let's raise our communications game, let's raise the boldness of our messaging, let's raise our electoral capacity, and I believe all those things are possible. So first time in this press conference, I'm sure there'll be other times that I'm going to say, these aren't decisions for the leader, they're decisions for the membership, and in fact that was similar about the answer about Jeremy Corbyn's party. These are all going to be decisions and conversations that the party have at party conference and on various groups. That's a boring answer, though, for my first day as leader. So I'd like to see us winning at least 30 MPs at the next general election, if not more, and I think we can do more. I've got Jasmine at ITV News.
Hi, Jasmine Cameron-Shaleshi from ITV News. You touched on this in your previous answer, that we've seen over the summer smaller parties like Reform have really dominated the political agenda and helped to shape the narrative. What will you be doing to grab the public's attention?
Reform, in fact, Nigel Farage has more TikTok followers than every single MP combined. And so that's a real challenge to any of us who consider ourselves on the left or progressive politics, to look at what can we be doing to raise our social media game, to make sure that our message is cutting through. I think there's a few things there. I think for anyone who follows me on social media can't accuse me of being shy on social media. I certainly make sure to get the message out there. But it's not actually about me. It's about our councillors, it's about our future councillors. It's all the people and communities that I've been talking about. I really want to make sure that we're training people, that we're upskilling them, because actually I think the stories that are really interesting, both to the party, but actually to the wider media and more importantly the public, are those stories we don't hear. Those stories that are happening in the north or the Wales, where I meet amazing people all the time who are doing incredible work and we just don't hear about it. So I think that's the first strand, is to make sure that we're encouraging people, particularly people from marginalised backgrounds and working class communities, to amplify their voices so their voices can cut through. I think the second thing is about storytelling. I think on the left, or in green politics more widely, we often get lost in spreadsheets and graphs. Now, spreadsheets and graphs are really important. I'm being very careful in this room to say that. But they don't tell a story, and they don't connect with people emotionally. If you're just telling an emotional story that is not connected in science and truth, you're doing what Farage is doing. We're never going to do that. We need to be built in that science, built in that truth and information, and then always connect it with a powerful, emotional story. A story that people can see themselves in. Far too many people look at politics and go, I'm not going to vote. I don't see myself recognised. You were all just shouting at each other. It all seems a bit toxic. We need to turn all of that to hope, but not just hope as a kind of abstract idea, but into tangible solutions. And this isn't an abstract idea because we're doing it. We're doing it all over the place in our communities. This is just about scaling up now, and I'm really confident we're going to do it. I've got Peter at The Guardian.
Hi, Zach, one of the concerns from people who didn't back you in the race was that your explicitly left-wing vision might pile up the votes in urban areas, but could harm the coalition of voters that the party has painstakingly built up, which is delivered seats like rural seats, where you have quite a few more soft, almost kind of conservative voters go for you. If you are able to be linked as a kind of Corbyn ally and things like that, how will you try and persuade those voters that they should still vote for you?
Well, first of all, I totally reject the idea that there's any difference between people who live in a rural community and who live in a city in terms of their basic fundamental values. People are people. And inequality hurts you wherever you live, whether you live in a town, a village, or a city. So I think the first thing is, and the party already does this, I think, really successfully, is make sure that we're speaking to that broad coalition of people. It really strikes me that in London, where I'm elected, a young person or someone who's struggling with rent, that's a power dynamic with an unscrupulous landlord, or can be an unscrupulous landlord, and that's about making sure we're bringing in rent controls and looking at fixing a broken housing market. I'm also really aware when I'm out campaigning with Ellie and Adrian or many people in some of the more rural communities, that when I speak to farmers, they're being screwed over by supermarkets, or they're not being paid a proper wage. We know that subsidies, 80% of subsidies are going to the 20% of wealthiest farmers. So this is all about power and inequality, and I think as a party we're speaking widely to that base. And the second thing is talking to Jeremy Corbyn doesn't mean necessarily being a Jeremy Corbyn ally. We are separate parties, and I think parties can absolutely work together and not necessarily consider themselves allies. Now, what that future relationship looks like isn't for me to determine right now, and it won't be for me to determine in the future. It'll be for our members to determine. But I think parties don't need to be explicitly working together necessarily to keep working together on policies, to keep putting a vision towards the country. And to give you an example, I spoke to Jeremy yesterday. He's having a Gaza inquiry later on this week. Now, many of you will remember the Chilcot inquiry over Iraq. Jeremy Corbyn and various MPs have been supporting the idea of a Gaza inquiry, so a live-streamed inquiry where everyone can see evidence about what is happening. We don't need to be in the same party for me to support that. We don't even need to be allies, quote-unquote, for me to support that. What I see is a politician who is doing strong principled work that aligns with the things I care about and the party cares about. And I think that's a different and new kind of politics, and I think that's a politics that's really going to excite this country. Could I speak to Bansera from Naked Politics?
Oh, that's me. I didn't have a prepared question.
Do you want?
I can ask you a question on the
I can come back. I can come back to you if you want to think, or you can take this pressure on. It's up to you.
I'm going to ask you a question actually.
Amazing.
Which has come up with regards to the leadership election, not necessarily so much with yourself, but there was quite a lot of contention around trans rights and that versus being socially conservative. It's something that's also come up with the Your Party discussions as well, and it looks like something that could split down the middle quite a lot of people on the left. And so my question to you, I think I know your stance on trans rights, but how will you unite a party that potentially looks like it might be somewhat divided already?
Thank you. I don't think we're divided. I think we have a really, really strong common cause here, which is tackling the climate crisis. Protecting nature and also protecting people's human rights. Trans rights are human rights. And I'm really pleased that as a party we have been through a democratic debate several times now, which I would say has been very clearly settled in recognising that we're a trans-inclusive progressive party. Now, I'm really aware of a quote that's going around New York at the moment, which is, if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 things, let's work together. If you agree with me on 12 out of 12 things, go see a psychiatrist. You don't need to agree with me on everything. There are red lines, though, and we're a broad church party, but broad churches have walls. And human rights are one of those walls. And actually, it's brilliant to quote, in fact, one of our recently elected deputy leaders, because I love the line that Motton said about this. He said the same people who hate the LGBT community are the same people who hate the Muslim community. I'm also aware of this moment that it's not insignificant that the Green Party now has a Jewish leader of the party and a Muslim deputy leader. And I'm sure... I know, because we've had this discussion, we absolutely recognise that anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are two sides of the same coin, and ultimately when communities ask for solidarity, including the trans community, the only response, the only authentic response, is to give that solidarity. I have Aaron at the Express.
Hello, Aaron from the Express. You said during the leadership election that you wanted to learn lessons from reformers Nigel Farage. How do you think you will do that when the Green Party appears to be taking a different stance, tackling Britain's largest concern, which is stopping mass immigration?
Thank you. I suppose the first place to start is Nigel Farage's kind of most common phrase is stop the boats. I also want to stop the boats. We want to stop the boats. We could stop the boats today with safe and legal routes. This country needs immigration. There, I've said it. Ultimately, we know we have all of these vacancies in the National Health Service. We have an ageing population. We have a birth rate that is declining. Now, of course, we can have a conversation about the fact we do need to train British workers. We do need to make sure that we're encouraging the next generation to work in healthcare, to work in construction, to work in care, of all our jobs. That's one conversation. But we also need to recognise right now that people who are coming over here and migrating over here are so much more likely to be paying into our tax system than anything they are taking out in social security or welfare. We also need to recognise, as I said earlier, that we're a country that is built on immigration, that we should be proud that our country is strongest when we see the kind of diversity in our communities, and that even when there is tension between communities, that's a learning moment for all of us. That's a moment for us to come together and to work out what is it to be British, because that is always moving, that is always evolving. And the final thing I'd say is you often hear in answer to this question that we kind of acknowledge the music, the food and the culture that migrants bring to us. I don't want to lean into that though. You don't have to play some kind of trick to be welcome in this country. We recognise people's humanity in this country, and actually when you look through proud traditions in this country, and admittedly obviously we've also had not so proud traditions, but I think in terms of being a patriot, and that's the biggest thing we cannot see to Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is not a patriot. Patriots don't hate their country. Patriots don't sell out to oil and gas companies or to arms trade companies and treat them. I can tell you what some of the biggest patriots I do know. They put their name on the ballot paper, they stand in their local community even when it's difficult and even when it's hard, and they make sure they win because they know the people in their community deserve better. And finally, although I am having fun, I guess I've got enough interviews today, Jim from the FT, and don't take that as a time to stop me having fun.
Jim Pickard, Financial Times. Congratulations on your victory. You've been asked about whether you would work with Jeremy Corbyn. Would you rule out, in a hung parliament situation, working with Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party? And just while I've got you, you've talked about nationalising the water industry. How do you feel about nationalising other industries, utilities, whether it's energy, steel, dare I say banks, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It would be wild to rule out working with anyone at this point, because I've only just been elected leader, and that's a decision that the membership will make. I'll give my opinion as it is today, with the kind of caveat that opinions can change as things work on. In Keir Starmer, we've seen someone who got elected on the coattails of Jeremy Corbyn, who made lots of promises to protect communities, to bring about a left-wing change in this country, to stand up for some of the poorest communities. And what we've had in Keir Starmer is despicable in terms of the politics. It is someone who has sold those communities out. He's not just sold his party out and the people who voted for him. The people I'm more concerned about are the people that are suffering in this country every day, who are worried about the future of this country, who see Nigel Farage give, and let's call it what it is, a racist press conference, and not just not condemn it, but implicitly nod to it. So I can't imagine any scenario where I would want to work with Keir Starmer. And I think in a scenario where we were in a hung parliament and we got that many seats, I think it would be odd that if that many people had stopped voting Labour and switched to Green to then work with Keir Starmer. So I think you can clearly hear from my answer how I feel about that. But also maybe he's going to have a brain transfusion in the next couple of months before the general election. We'll see that. In terms of nationalisation, this is one of those policies that is so incredibly popular when you speak to people about it. Obviously, water is the most obvious one, and I will come to your others in a second, but I want to stop on water in a moment, because Labour seem to put this in the too difficult box. I even asked Sadiq Khan recently, who I hold to account on the London Assembly, if he would consider, as Mayor of London, having a place of governance on the board of Thames Water. There are so many huge public institutions where it is so obvious that you should have democratic governance. And he said to me that he didn't want to do anything tokenistic. Labour are terrified for water companies. They're terrified of the CEOs who are taking all of these money in bonuses. At the same time, the people who can least afford it, because of a mass inequality in our society where poor people have got poorer and rich people have got richer, is absolutely symbolic and totemic of how damaging this Labour Party's attitude towards these huge companies are. In terms of energy and in terms of steel, I think steel is the most obvious one. We saw with Scunthorpe and with Port Talbot, in fact I was there with Anthony last year or the year before, just shortly before it closed down. It was so obvious what was about to happen. The workers were saying, work with us. Labour seemed completely absent from that scene, completely unwilling to work with the workers, to work for a just transition. And all I mean by a just transition is making sure that we're protecting workers' rights and that we're moving to tackle the climate crisis. And the reason why I say steel is the most obvious is we need the steel for the wind turbines, we need it for the railway tracks, we need it for the just transition. So absolutely, it's a no-brainer that we need to be nationalising our big industries. Thank you very much. I just finally, with all the gratitude I have, also want to thank Harriet and all the Green Party staff team for this election. Thank you very much.
Zach, and I think everyone can feel the energy and excitement here in the room and throughout the party as we embark on this journey with our new leadership. To let you all know, we have in an outburst of generosity kept this room and those 2 rooms for the whole day. So if anybody wants to stay to take photographs, to have another group hug, you're very welcome. If you wanted to have a one-on-one interview and you haven't booked it in yet, Angela and Steve, standing at the 2 sides, would be happy to help organise that for you. And so finally then, once again, can I thank all the candidates who stood in this exciting contest. I'd like to thank you all for all you did, and in particular to thank our leadership and deputy leadership candidates and to congratulate the winning team once again. Thank you.
Very excited.